Guys, today is Cinco de Mayo and it's Taco Tuesday. So I'm gonna cake my taco cakes. And I thought the perfect pairing with the taco cakes would be some watermelon slice cakes, like some refreshing cake after your taco cakes. Now I know what you're thinking, I've already caked a taco, but that was a giant taco. So I want to make smaller taco cakes that you can actually make at home. I know a lot of you are looking for small projects to do at home, which is why I'm choosing to show you these two simpler cakes. To make my taco cakes, I baked two 6-inch round pans of chocolate cake. My cakes are baked, cooled, and chilled, and now I'm gonna remove them from their pans and level them. After I level my cakes, I'm gonna cut each cake in half, but not into 2 layers. I'm cutting them into 2 semicircles. This is a perfect example of how you can use your cake humps and make even more cake. So I'm gonna take those 2 cake humps, level them, and then I'm gonna cut them in half in 2 semicircles. And what I'll do is I'll just stack these together to get the same height as the rest of my cakes. Given what's happening in the world, it was actually hard for me to find 8-inch tortillas. I only found 6-inch tortillas, so I need to trim these cakes. I don't want the cake sticking out of the tortilla. I'm gonna do this to all 6 cakes. It's time to simple syrup all of my cakes with the help of Sir Squeeze. Have you seen his outfit? Sir Squeeze is super excited about Cinco de Mayo. He even dressed up for the occasion.
How is he dealing with the lockdown?
I mean, Sir Squeeze is always in lockdown. He's not allowed to leave set, so. Except for that one time I took him to Ibiza. You're welcome. It's time to crumb coat and chill these cakes with chocolate ganache. Now for the 2 cakes that are made out of my humps, I'm gonna fill in between with chocolate ganache first, sandwich them together, and then crumb coat the entire cake. You wanna do the sides and the top. I use chocolate ganache because, first of all, chocolate ganache sets up better, so the baked tortillas, I'm ruining the surprise, but the baked tortillas will stick to the cake much better than buttercream. And also, I want it to look like there's meat inside, so I thought chocolate cake and chocolate ganache would give that effect much better than buttercream. While the cakes are chilling, I'm gonna set up a station to bake my tortillas. And what I need to do is melt some butter. And into that butter, I'm going to stir Buttercup Yellow Gel Food Coloring. Because the flour tortillas are just sort of, I want these to look like hard shell tacos, and the flour tortillas are very beige. They're just not doing it for me. The next thing I need to do is prepare my sugar and spice mixture, which is basically a mixture of sugar, cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg. And I stir that all together. It smells amazing. And it's gonna add a nice texture to the outside of these tortillas. So now I'm going to bake 2 tortillas at a time. This is very important because you really won't be able to wrap more cakes than this. So 2 tortillas on a tray lined with a silicone mat. And the first thing I need to do is brush both sides of each tortilla with my yellow melted butter. Then I'm gonna sprinkle my spice sugar mix on the surface of the tortillas. So in my oven at 350 degrees, I'm going to bake these tortillas for 3 to 5 minutes. After that time is up, you need to work quickly. So remove them from your oven, and then what you need to do is carefully lay a cake on one side of the tortilla, and then fold the other side over and press that cake inside. The ganache will start melting, but don't worry. You need to work quickly because the tortilla only remains soft while it's hot, and once you leave it out, it just becomes crispy. If you wait too long, the tortilla will crack as you're folding it over the cake. So I just give it a minute so it won't burn my hands, but I certainly don't want it to be cool. So now that you've made these 2 tacos, repeat this process with the other 4. Now I'm gonna prepare the toppings for my tacos, because that's the best part about tacos, right? You get to top them. So the first thing I need to do is dye my lettuce. So I did have some shredded coconut. It's fine, it just looks like it's chopped really, really fine. And in order to dye it green, what I like to do is take a little bit of electric green food coloring, dilute it in a little bit of water, and what you're gonna do is just throw your shredded coconut into the water and let it soak for about 5 minutes. It's kind of like, did you guys ever do that science experiment at school where you'd make blue water and then put a stalk of celery in it? There's another project for you to do at home.
You think everyone has a drawer full of food coloring in their homes?
They should.
Okay.
Once your coconut has soaked, you can carefully strain it all. I like to just pour it into a sieve. The shreds absorb a lot more water, so what I did is I bit by bit spooned it into my sieve and just made sure to press all that water out. And then you can sprinkle it onto some clean paper towel just to get rid of all that extra moisture, and eventually it will dry. The next thing I did was I used some red licorice, I used nibs, and I just chopped them further just to look like little bits of finely diced tomato. Here's a really good tip. Whenever you're cutting candy that's sort of on the sticky side, like a gummy or licorice, I like to just wipe the blade of my knife with a little bit of vegetable oil or shortening. If you're afraid to do it with your fingers, then just use a little brush and brush it on. Now, the one thing you need to make ahead of time for this taco is the modeling chocolate that looks like cheese. Modeling chocolate is really easy to make. You just use some compound white chocolate, clear corn syrup, and all you do is put those 2 ingredients into a heat-proof bowl and on top of a pot filled with simmering water, and you let them melt completely together. And while that mixture is still hot, remove it from the heat. This is when you want to add your food coloring. Since I know that I'm using all of this modeling chocolate as cheese, I'm just gonna color it now while it's still soft. It's much easier, but you can color modeling chocolate afterward, just like you color fondant. You can knead it in. Let it thicken at room temperature, and once it's completely thickened, you can put it in the fridge. Sophie's choice, you gotta give up like chocolate or cheese. Which one is it? Which one is it? That's really hard, right? Guys, which one is it? What are you giving up? Cheese or chocolate? Let me know below. I think more people would give up cheese. I knew someone who didn't like cheese, period, across the board, cheese.
What happened to them when they were a child?
I don't know. Now it's time to get to the meat of the taco. So to make the meat, I'm gonna show you another picture from the book that I wrote. To make the meat, I used some milk candy melts, dark candy melts. And then this is like Cocoa Rice Krispies, which I couldn't find. So this time I had to use regular Rice Krispies. And these are just some black jelly beans to look like black beans. And basically all you have to do is melt both chocolates, stir them into the Rice Krispies, and then throw in your beans.
That sounds so delicious.
Mm-hmm. And you
I think I'm now leaning towards chocolate now.
Okay. So you want to make this mixture once you're ready to fill your tacos, because you want to fill the tacos while this mixture is still soft. Obviously, there's chocolate in it, it will completely harden. I'm gonna just use a spoon, and I'm gonna spoon this mixture into each taco. I'm doing 2 at a time. And this is the tricky part, because if you lay them down after you fill it, everything will just fall out. So I kind of just lean them up against the side of my tray until that chocolate sets. And before it sets, don't forget, add a few extra jelly beans, so you see those black beans on top. Add some diced tomato, some lettuce, and of course, the grated cheese. Do you understand? Now you've made a taco. Repeat this process for your other 5 tacos. If your meat mixture starts to solidify, put it in the microwave for like 10 seconds just to remelt that chocolate, stir it up, and keep going. The tacos are ready. Now we need some dessert. It's time for some refreshing watermelon. To make my watermelon slices, I baked 2 pounds of my pink velvet cake in a 9-inch round pan. And I always put a few chocolate chips into the batter to look like the seeds. you want to level it. I mean, there isn't a lot to level, but basically you want to cut the caramelization away from the top and flip it over and cut the caramelization away from the bottom. If the sides of your cake are caramelized, you can go ahead and trim that off as well. My favorite part about making these watermelon slices is painting the rind. To make my rind, I'm rolling out some white fondant. In this case, I'm purposely rolling it thicker because watermelon rind is thick, and we want to see that white part of the rind before we get to the painted green skin. The first layer of paint is some moss green, Kelly green, buttercup yellow, and then just a touch of red to dull down all that green. And of course I dilute this in clear food grade alcohol. And I'm gonna paint the whole surface of my white fondant with this color. Oh! There's also a watermelon cake in the book I wrote. I actually have this so I could, because I can't remember off the top of my head the exact colors I use. The next thing I'm going to do is deepen up this paint I already made by adding a little more moss green, and then I want to use more of a round paintbrush and dot this all over the surface. So I'm kind of creating texture here and a little bit of a darker color. And now it's time to paint the stripe. Take the paint and add even more moss green. So we want to make sure that we're painting stripes, but I mean, a watermelon isn't perfectly striped. So you want to create texture and not perfect lines. That's very hard for me to do. And you want to create like parts in between the stripes. What I like to do is have a few different brushes, some of them flat, some of them more rounded. I like to keep some of them dry. I also like to have paper towel near me so I can, dab off any excess paint. And you just layer on your paints until you create the texture of a watermelon. Once the skin is painted and you're happy with it, it's time to carefully cut it into strip. And make sure to cut your bands so that the stripes you painted are running vertically in the bands. To glue these bands onto the back of our cake, we're going to brush on some piping gel. If you don't have piping gel at home, perhaps you have, apricot jam or, strawberry jam, and then you could brush that on the back and just sort of gently press them in place. The next thing I want to do is trim my cake into 6. So like a pie, I want to cut it into 6 even slices. You know what this watermelon needs? Seeds. So I like to use semi-sweet chocolate chips and just press them into the top of the slice. We want to see the seeds. My watermelon slice cakes were one of the first live stream classes we ever did. And it's so much fun to do live streams, especially in this time. So coming up in our Bake You Happy series, we have 2 great live streams just in time for Mother's Day. And don't make her clean up once you're done. So why not learn how to make macaroons with Jyoti or paint a beautiful floral cake with Lindsay? There's a link in the description below. During the live stream, you're in the comfort of your own kitchen. These amazing artists are in their home kitchens and they're there to answer all your questions and do everything with you step by step. For some more simple baking projects, click here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week on Cake Tuesday.